Hello again and welcome to another bike restoration video. A couple of days ago I was searching for bike parts at the local garage sales and discovered a true diamond in the rough. It was a frame with no wheels, no brake pads, and seized derailleurs. But it was only $30, a steal, and it was a color combo that I had wanted since I was a kid. That bright blue just called my name. The bike itself is about half of a 2013 Trek 3700 disc model. It comes with a Shimano Altus rear derailleur and a Shimano Tourney front. This bike was definitely used as a daily, where it was parked outside for most of its life. The grips are sticky and gross, and the front fork is fine for what it is. A Coil Suntour SR XCN V3 with 100mm of travel and preload adjustment, which is a nice touch, and it makes it a little better than the standard forks Trek put on bikes at this era. Comes complete with spot rust on the stanchions and is near impossible to compress the coil, but we'll fix that. So this thing is looking pretty rough so far, but here's why I bought it. It is a budget frame with front and rear disc brakes. This is hard to find in this price range on used bikes, and the brakes are seized with rust, but are nice standard Bontrager Novella units. This makes braking on the bike a whole lot safer and a much better platform to build a good trail bike on. Let's start with this restoration by removing the parts that we know we definitely do not want. First is the old rusted chain. Next is the decomposing grips. It looks easy on screen, but it took almost a full 30 minutes to separate these from their host. Next, I really wanted to see if I could rescue the seized fork. So I'm going to remove the disc brake and drop the front end, trying to carefully remember which way each spacer goes. Luckily, the head tube doesn't look too rusty, but we'll definitely still clean it up. I'll also be redoing some of the cabling, and the sun-damaged plastic has made it real tough to pry these things out of their mounting points. So, how I clean rust off bike parts. I like to use the Simple Green degreaser. Pretty much removes anything without being completely toxic. A soft steel brush can help get those stubborn spots of rust off. When dealing with bearings, be very careful. You do not want to bend or twist or damage this little ring in any way. Next is the toughest rust spots, because they're on those shiny stanchions. But don't worry, I have a method to remove this stuff I hope works. That's right, it's time for the most intense toothbrush session of your life. Your rust and teeth don't even stand a chance. So this white goopy liquid is Barkeeper's Friend, and I have no idea what's in it or what exactly it does, but man, whether you need to clean out a moldy bathtub, remove scratches from mom's kitchen sink, or take rust off bike parts, this is the stuff. I like to use a steel brush with this stuff and wipe it away with that Simple Green degreaser again, and it seems the rust has been removed and polished away. I can't emphasize how much this Barkeeper's Friend stuff is like magic. Alright, so next is the toughest part of the build. Both wheels are missing from this frame because they got stolen while this was being used as a daily commuter bike, and in order to find them I had to scour all the bike recyclers across town. Why? Well, this bike is the older 26-inch wheel size, but it had the rare upgrade of disc brakes. Cheap, disc-compatible 27.5 and 29-inch wheels are super easy to find, but 26-inch wheels with discs are rare. Next, I installed an old set of race face locking grips I had laying around, and with the new wheel set I can now install and tune the Masterlink chain. In order to get the front wheel installed, it needs some rust removed on the rotor and quick release. At the used part shop, I found some lightly used Maxxis Aspen tires. When new, this tire was nicer than what I currently have on my main bike, but it's not now. Still a solid tire though. Simple Green, Barkeeper's Friend, and a steel brush took care of all the rust no problem. I also wanted to remove the reflector from the front wheel too, since it'll just turn into trail trash later, but it put up a fight. Now, I also noticed that the front wheel is a little wobbly, so time to break out the trimming stand and sit in a hot garage for 30 to 45 minutes turning spokes. I also got both brakes unseized and tuned them up and put some new brake pads in them as well. Nice thing about those Trek Novella units is that the brake pads are super easy to find. One of the most important components are the pedals, because you don't want your feet slipping around while bombing down a trail. So we're going to remove the rusty, worn down plastic flats and replace them with something a little nicer. Yep, they're pretty nasty. I'm replacing them with my old main pedal set, the 2017 version of the Fixation City pedal. They're lightweight, grippy flats and are just worn out enough to not look out of place on the salvage bike, while still being good enough for some harder riding. Put some lithium grease on it to prevent over-tightening, and this bike is starting to look 1,000 times better. So, because I don't fully trust this bike yet, I took it only to my local jump park. It's not a tough bike park, but it is excellent for stress testing bikes with its variety of features and drops. It's a pretty great place to quickly find out where something is going to break on your bike. Apart from some brake rubbing due to that slightly warped used rotor, this bike surprised me all around. The biggest surprise was how bouncy the fork was. I was worried with how it was seized up with rust before, being disassembled and greased up, it would be real bad, but it performed admirably for a coil fork. The whole bike was also pretty quiet compared to other entry-level Treks I've ridden. I didn't even have to put on one of those lizard skin things on the back to stop the chain noise because the chain was properly sized. The bike shifted smoothly and with ease. The only thing is that the brakes do need a little more tuning, but for the most part, these nicer tires, better wheels, and a derailleur tune-up and fresh grease and lube and everything just make this bike a dream to ride, and those 26-inch wheels make it really fun to command on those little skinny portions that are, you kind of have to balance your bike. With how rough of a state this bike was in before I fixed it up, I was really worried that it wouldn't come together. But this thing is going to make an excellent bike for friends and family to borrow when they want to ride mountain bike trails when they come and visit. This is going to be an excellent backup bike for me, and it's just worn out enough that I don't feel bad letting anyone, myself included, thrash it around on some intense trails. So, what mods do you think would fit for this thing? I mean, there's no way it's ever going back to stock, and there's no reason for it to, because this was one of the most common Treks ever made. So, if you think something just really needs to be installed on here, something that is a great upgrade for bikes like this, then tell me. I'd love to try and put it on here. And I do want to send a shout out to the One Stop Bike Shop for being able to find all these weird parts and really helping me fix this bike up for a good price. One thing I love about this bike is that biking is already a more environmentally friendly way of transportation, and when you take a bike that was destined for the landfill and fix it up with parts that weren't being used, then you just have a really great combination of reusable transportation and a whole heck of a lot of fun on trails. So, thank you for watching. Bye for now.